Well, hey, Mission Cincinnati, Father William back with you for another extra installment this week as we prepare to take our next step forward in our relaunch pathway this Sunday, July 5th. We will both have our online portion of our service that will be accessed via Facebook Live starting at 10 a.m. and ending by 10:30. And then we're inviting anyone in the church who is ready to come for an in-person gathering as we continue to worship at the Spencer Overlook in Eden Park starting at 11 a.m. and lasting until noon, during which time we will receive communion together, pray together, and share in a time of discussion in groups of 10 or fewer about the morning's sermon. And as we prepare to take this step forward, I wanted to come to talk to you this week to situate what we are doing pastorally, so both that you have a better understanding of why we are taking this step as a church, as well as how we understand this fitting into the life of our church, as well as our current societal moment, as there are in the last week beginning to be increased coronavirus cases across our nation and specifically in Hamilton County. And so first, in order to anchor this conversation, I wanted to read to you a little bit from Psalm 137, in which the psalmist says, "By the waters of Babylon, there we sat down and wept as we remembered Zion. On the willows there we hung up our lyres. For there our captors required of us songs and our tormentors mirth, saying, 'Sing us one of the songs of Zion.'" And the psalmist says this in verse 4, "How shall we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land?" It strikes me that for many of us, and probably for all of us in some ways, these are extremely difficult days. Days in which, whether professionally or in your family life or in your church situation or whatever you're experiencing, you probably feel as if you are living in a foreign land and you would just love for someone to just hit a button to make everyone say, "All right, everything's good now, everything's cool, we can go back to normal." I know that everyone in our congregation is facing particular situations that make all of the decisions about how to move forward and what to do and how to engage socially and what sort of social distancing measures I should put in place or shouldn't put in place. It makes those decisions difficult because all of us have different experiences. And on the airways of our nation right now, there's so much shaming going on about people who are choosing to act in a certain way and people who are choosing to act in another. And so I want to say, regardless of all of this, we want to make sure at the Mission Cincinnati that we are creating a culture of care where you know that you and your household are seen, loved, and prayed for, regardless of what you are going through. But also a culture of trust, where we see in one another brothers and sisters in Jesus who we are choosing to believe have our best interests at heart and are doing truly the best they can to act in a way that is socially responsible and God-honoring and neighbor-loving. And when we don't think that that is the case, we want to be people who are able courageously to reach out to one another and to build those relationships of connection, to understand each other better so that we can humanize each other and build bridges of trust that will strengthen us as Christ's body on the earth and to be His prophetic witnesses to our world that so desperately needs it. And so with all of that as the heart, knowing that we want to create a culture where you are cared for and a culture where we together are building trust, I want to give you a couple pastoral thoughts about what we are doing and also what we aren't doing by taking this step forward as a church through these in-person gatherings in Eden Park. And the first is to say that we are not taking this step forward in order to just return to normal. There is a lot of desire out there to just get back to a place of safety and security because stability and familiarity, like we see in this psalm, is comforting. There's a comfort in being able to do that which is familiar to us. And so our decision to begin to meet in person in Eden Park for the second half of our worship services is not a desire to simply return to normal and return to something familiar and comfortable. Rather, this is a recognition that things are profoundly not normal right now. And so our desire is to say we as a church want to make hospitable space for all different types of people. For those who are longing for in-person connection, as well as for newcomers who are moving to the city and saying, hey, I want some friends who believe in Jesus. We want to make space for people to connect. And at the same time, we want to preserve the online portion of our service so that you who are not yet ready to come in person can still connect and be cared for and be a part of the body in a worshiping community together. Not only will you be able to see the sermon, musical worship, and the scripture reading in the online portion, you will be able to access the liturgy that we will be using in person for use in your own home as well. Secondly, we also want to practice fidelity to our embodied theology while also doing that in a way that is safe and that practices social responsibility well. We want to make sure both that we are truly trying to press into the reality of what it means to be God's unified body, the church, in these days, but we want to make sure that we are never going to do that in a way that compromises care for each other as a body, as well as through each other for our most vulnerable neighbors in the world around us. And so we will be practicing pretty clear social distancing measures. We are encouraging the use of masks during this time. We are also going to make sure that people respect 6 feet of distance between each other. We'll be able to be in proximity, be together, be able to express our care for each other, but to do it in a responsible way. So please know that these decisions are not out of a desire to return to normal. They're stepping with God forward into the next step of what He has for us in the life of our church. Second, this is not a launch. So in church planning, there are often these moments where we put out the balloons, we throw out the hospitality mat, we say, invite all your friends. We want to make this a big thing because we want to have record-breaking attendance and really move the ball forward. And I want to say this is not one of those moments. We are doing this intentionally on the 4th of July weekend because we know a lot of our people are out of town. There are also a lot of our folks that we've talked to who are not yet ready to come back in person. And that's okay. It's not a loss for us if we don't have record-breaking attendance this Sunday. It would actually be a little bit of a problem if we did, because that we might not be able to control all of the measures well. And so it's a win for us if we have a significant group of people show up in the 25 to 35 people range, so that we're able to press into being a community together and make space to welcome new people into our midst, while also not trying to set any attendance records. And so in the midst of that, I want you to hear that we are not trying to pressure you to do anything that you're not comfortable with. We don't want to use the language of pressure. We want to speak with the language of invitation so that everyone always feels welcome to take next steps forward, to press further in to their relationship with God and their relationships with one another as we move through these days as best as we can, prayerfully and discerningly, as leaders of the church. And so this is not a launch. Third, this is also not the new normal. This is a faith-filled experiment. And we believe that this is going to work really well. We're excited about a lot of the things that we have planned, but we also don't know how this is going to work for all of our people fully. We're committing to it for several weeks. We want to try this long enough that we really have a good body of evidence to know how well this helps and serves our congregation and helps us move mission forward. But in the meantime, we want your input. If you come and experience this and there are things you're saying, hey, that was awesome, make sure to do more of that stuff. Or if there's something you experience, you're like, maybe to try something different with that. We want to know that from you. Also, if you are not yet comfortable coming in person, you are engaging digitally, we want to hear from you as well. How can we shepherd you well in this in-between space where you're trying to make space to move forward with everyone together? We need all of the wisdom of the body of Christ in these days so that we can move forward well and as close as we can get to the heart of God for us as a congregation. And so the last thing that I will say is an invitation to press in with us in a faith-filled next step. Whether you will be tuning in from home on Sunday or whether you will be gathering with us in Eden Park or whether you're on vacation somewhere with family, I want to say press into the life of this community. We need you in relationship with each other as we are all together in relationship with God, so that we together can be Christ Church and to figure out how to move forward. We are committed to adapting. We are committed to figuring out what are the best ways to be the church in this moment. And we need your volunteerism. We need your ideas. We need your help. And all the while, we need to know what's going on in your life so that we can care for you, because we want to make sure that you are experiencing the love of Jesus and the care of Christ in these days as you are facing uncertain and difficult circumstances as well. If you hear nothing else, hear this. You are not alone. You are never alone. You are known and prayed for. And we at the Mission Cincinnati want to care for you and are so grateful God has gifted you to us as a part of our body. It makes us stronger. And we hope that we make you stronger in everything that you're experiencing. So with all of these things, we thank God for the opportunity of being able to be His church in the city. And we look forward to seeing you Sunday, both online on our Facebook page at 10 a.m. and in person with those who are ready at Eden Park at 11. God bless you, church family.